morning is called Our Town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. You can see some streaks of light over in the east there behind our mountain. Well, I'd better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way back there is the railway station. Polish towns across the tracks. Congregational churches over there. Presbyterians across the street. Unitarian and Methodist over there. Baptist churches down in the hollow by the river. Catholic churches over beyond the tracks. Right here is our town hall and post office in one. Jail's in the basement. The grocery store's here, and Mrs. Morgan's drugstore is right here. Most everybody in our town manages to look into these two stores at least once a day. Public schools over yonder, high schools still farther. 8:45 mornings, noon times, 3 o'clock afternoons. The whole town can hear the yelling and screaming from those two schoolyards. This here is our doctor's house. Dr. Gibbs. This is the back door. Here's Mrs. Gibbs's garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhock, heliotrope, and a whole lot of burdock. Here's Mrs. Woods' garden. It's just like Mrs. Gibbs's, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever come out of it, as far as we know. Oldest stones in the cemetery up there say 1670, 1680. There's Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as are around here now. So, as I said, it's around dawn. A new day's begun. Here comes Doc Gibbs down Main Street now, and here's his wife coming downstairs to make breakfast. And here's little Joe Crowell Jr. delivering Mr. Woods' sentiment.
Morning, Doc Gibbs.
Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick, Doc?
No, just a couple of twins over at Polish Town.
Do you want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything going on in the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster, is getting married to a fellow over in Concord.
I declare, and how do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, it's none of my business, but I think if a person starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay one.
Want to tell you something about this boy, Joe Crowell here. Joe was awful bright. Graduated from high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there, too. It was all wrote up about in a Boston paper. Going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But then the war came, and he died in France. All that education for nothing.
Getting up, Bessie. What's the matter with you today?
Here's Howie Newsom delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
No, just a couple of twins over at Mrs. Grosowski's.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs.
Seems like you're late today.
Yes, something wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was. Doc?
Howie.
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
Everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare. Easy as kittens.
Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours of sleep this morning, can't you?
Miss Wentworth's coming over about 11. Suppose I know what it's about, too. First renegade, what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. Do you wish I could get you to go away someplace and take a rest? I think it'd do you good.
Emily, time to get up! Wally, 7 o'clock!
I declare, you've got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. He's no help to me at all. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that darn baseball. George, Rebecca, time to get up. George!
George, look sharp. Yes, Ma. Don't you hear your mother calling you? Suppose I'll go and get 40 winks.
Children, hurry, you'll be late for school! Wally, you wash yourself good or I'll come up there and do it myself!
Mama, what dress shall I wear?
Don't make a noise. You're probably going all night and need to dress. I washed an iron the purple category special.
Mama, I hate this dress.
Oh, hush up, you.
Every day I go to school and I look like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, the morning looks very nice.
Mama, Georgie's throwing soap at me.
I'll come and slap the both of you. That's what I'll do.
We've got a factory in our town, too. Here it makes blankets.
Children, now I won't have it. Breakfast is just as important as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling it like wolves. It'll stunt your growth. That's a fact. Put away your book, Wally.
Oh, Mom, by 10 o'clock, I don't know all about Canada.
You know the rules well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the greatest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm right too. When I'm looking at my stamp collection.
Well, I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents is more than enough for a boy your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
Well, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphate, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradually.
Well, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in this world? Do you? Money.
Eat your breakfast.
Good morning.
Has arrived.
Speechless.
Sure, I know you're not going to talk to you. Very nicely. Good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still get that tickling feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know I was going to go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Did you try singing over your voice?
Yes, but I can't seem to do that and stay on the key.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. At first, I thought he was a patient wanting to see the doctor, and he wormed his way in my parlor. Myrtle, he offered me $350 for grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting
Why,
here.
Julia
He
Gibbs.
did. That old thing? Why, it's so big, I didn't know where to put it. I almost gave it away to cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
I don't know.
You don't know! $350! What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away someplace on a real trip, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle's been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. Sounds crazy, I suppose, but for years I've been promising myself that if we ever had the chance.
Well, how does the doctor feel about it?
Well, I did beat her on the bush a little bit. I told him that if I ever got a legacy, that's the way I put it, I'd make him take me away somewhere.
What do you say?
Oh, you know him. I haven't heard a serious word out of him my whole life. No, he says it might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says.
Well, if that second-hand man's serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. Then you'll get to see Paris all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in a person's life, they ought to see a country where they don't talk in English, and they don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to skip a few hours here, but first we'd like a little more information about the town. Sort of a scientific account, you might say. So I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to sketch in a few details of our past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Ah, yes. Grover's Corners. Let me see. Ah, yes. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. It's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. And some highly interesting fossils have been found. Unique fossils, I may say, on Silas Peckham's cow pasture 2 miles out of town. Would you like me to read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation and mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we don't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few words on the history of man here.
Ah, yes, anthropological data. Let me see. Early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes, no evidence before the 10th century, with possible traces in 3 families.
And the population, Professor?
2,640.
Just a moment, Professor.
Ooh, at the moment, it's 2,642. The postal district wings at 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates are constant, and by McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. We're all very much obliged, I'm sure.
Oh, not at all, ma'am, not at all.
This way, Professor, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Now, the political and social report. Editor Webb. Mr. Webb.
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting.
Mr. Webb is the publisher and editor of our Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our local paper, you know.
Well, yes. I don't have to tell you that we're run by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21, women vote indirect. We are low middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republican, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist, and the rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestant, 12% Catholic, and the rest indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
A very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most. Probably a lot duller, too. But our young people seem to like it here enough. Most of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even if they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Editor Webb anything about the town?
Is there much drinking in Robert's quarters?
Well, ma'am, I wouldn't know what you'd call much. Saturday nights, the farmhands all meet down at Ellery Green's stable and, holler some. We've got one or two town drunks, but they're always having remorses whenever an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I'd say that liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here, except maybe in the medicine chest. Good for a snake bite, you know. Always was.
Is anyone in town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes, something terrible. Seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. It seems that we're hunting, like everybody else, for a way that the diligent and sensible can rise to the top and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy. Meanwhile, we do the best we can to help those that can't help themselves and those that can't live alone. Are there any other questions?
Oh, Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, no, not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls who play piano at high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, I'd say there ain't much culture, but maybe this is the place to tell you that we do have a lot of pleasures of a kind here. We like the sun coming over the mountain, and we all notice a good deal about the birds. We pay a lot of attention to them. And we watch the changing of the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now, we'll head back to the town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinners, and all the dishes have been washed. Yes, there's an early afternoon calm about the town. Only a few buggies out on Main Street, the horses dozing at the hitching posts. There's a humming and a buzzing coming from the schoolyards. You remember how it is. Doc Gibbs is in his office, poking people and making them say, ah. Mr. Webb is out cutting his lawn. Oh, no, sir, it's later than I thought. There's some children coming home from school already.
Bye, Rebecca.
Oh, that chemistry test is just unbearable.
I can't, Lois. I've got to get home and tell my mother. I promise.
How are you talk simply? Who do you think you are today?
Oh, Papa, you're terrible. One minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next minute you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech on the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me change it to the Louisiana Purchase. I worked an awful long time on both, though.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're doing homework over in your room.
Why can't you?
You sure do stick to it, Emily. I don't see I can sit still for that long. I guess you like school.
Well, I always just figured that it's something you have to go through.
Yeah?
I don't mind it much. It passes the time.
Yeah. What do you think? Maybe we can work out a kind of telegraph from your window to mine, and every now and then you can give me a hint to one of those algebra problems. I don't mean the answers, of course not of them. Just some little hint.
Oh, I think hints are okay. If you get stuck, George, you just whistle to me and I'll give you some hints.
You're just naturally bred, I guess.
I figure it's the way a person is born.
Yeah. Well, you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I better get going to the baseball fields. Thanks for the talk. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So,
Come on, George.
Why, George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? He's growing up. How old would George be?
I don't know.
Let's see, he must be almost 16.
I made a speech in class today and I was very good.
You must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
With the Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk off the spool. I I'm going to make speeches my whole life. Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Oh, yes, of course you are. All my children have good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
No, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I've already told you, yes. Now, that's enough of that. You have a nice, young, pretty face. I've never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, I was, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright.
Well, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody? To get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now, stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Well, a good deal of time's gone by. It's evening. You can hear the choir practicing over in the congregational church. All the children are at home doing their schoolwork, and the day is running down like a tired clock.
Now, look here, everybody. Music come into this world to give pleasure. Softer, softer. Get it out of your heads. The music's only good when it's loud. You leave the loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them even if you wanted to. Now again, tenors.
You'll be willing, will you, to wake up early and milk and feed the stock and Hoe and hay all day?
Why, sure I will. What do you mean?
Well, George, I was in my office today, and I heard a funny sound. And what do you think that sound was? It was your mother chopping wood. There she gets up early, she cooks meals, and she washes and irons clothes, and still she has to get up early and cut wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking you and decided it would be easier to go and do it herself. And yet you still eat the meals she cooks for you and put on the clothes she keeps nice and run off and play baseball, treating her like some hired girl that we keep around that we don't like very much. Well, George, I knew all I had to do was call your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I'm going to raise your spending money to 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother. That's your present to her. But because you're getting older, and I imagine you'll find lots to do with it.
Thanks, Pop.
Tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Rebecca will probably feel she'll need more too. Wonder whatever happened to your mother. Choir practice never did run this late before.
It's only 8:30, Pop.
I don't know why she's in that choir. She hasn't got any more voice than an old crow. Racing around this little night. About time you retired, don't you think?
Yes, Pop.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Foster.
My, what a real nice choir practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Webb, look at that moon, will you? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say anything in front of those others, but now that we're alone, it really is the worst scandal that ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Snimpson.
Now, Luella.
But Julia, to have the organist of a church drink and drunk year after year, you know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Stimson, and we all know about the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too, and if Dr. Ferguson can keep him on there in that job, the only thing the rest of us can do is not to notice it.
Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen anywhere near as often. My, I need to go in at a night like this. I'd better hurry. Those children will be sitting up till all hours. Good night, Luella.
Good night, Myrtle. Good night, Julia.
Good night, Luella. Well, we had a real nice time.
You are late enough.
Why, Frank is not any later than usual.
And stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of hens.
Frank, don't be grouchy. Just smell my heliotrope in the moonlight. Isn't that wonderful? What did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Well, believe me, Frank, there's something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson far gone, was he?
The worst I've ever seen him. Frank, how will that end? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I suppose I know more about Simon Simpson's affairs than anyone in this town. Some people ain't made for the small town life. I suppose all we can do is just leave it alone. Come inside.
No, not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
Well, I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. If I get that legacy, I'm going to insist on it.
Now, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Come, Julia, first thing you'll know, you'll catch a cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight, and I reckon you'll have your wood chopped for a while. Now let's head inside.
You know, Mrs. Fairchild always locks her front door every night. All the people of that part of town do.
They're all getting citified, that's the trouble with them. They ain't got nothing fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. You're always spoiling everything.
Well, let me look. Just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? I think that the moon's getting near and near, and one day there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting near, the guys that sit up all night with telescopes would see it first, and they tell all about it. And it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on South America and Canada and whole half of the world?
Well, probably is.
9:30 in Grover's Corners. Most of the lights are out. Nope, there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Editor Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Wood.
Quite alone?
Yep. All quiet tonight?
Simon Simpson's rolling around a little. Just saw his wife moving out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. Ah, there he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Yes, I think the town's settled down for the night, Simon. Maybe we'd better do the same. Can I walk along the ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. Good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
And why aren't you in bed?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet, Papa. The moonlight's so wonderful. The smell of Mrs. Gibbs's heliotrope. Can you smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, enjoy yourself, but don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Right, Papa? I never told you about the letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope, the address was like this. It said, Jane Crawford, Crawford Farm, Grover's Corners, County, New Hampshire, the United
What's
States
funny
of
about
America.
that?
But listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, the continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
3 years have gone by. Yes, the sun's come up over 1,000 times. Some babies that weren't even born yet have begun talking regular sentences already. And some people who thought they were right young and spry have noticed that they can't bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their heart fluttering a little. Yes, all that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Most everybody in the world gets married. In our town, there are hardly any exceptions. Most everybody in the world jumps into their graves married. So, it's 3 years later. It's 1904. It's July 7th, just after the high school commencement. That's the time most of our young people decide to jump up and get married. As soon as they've passed their last examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's orations, looks like they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning. Only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring, thunder. There, you can hear the 5:45 from Boston. And here come Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb downstairs to make breakfast as though it were an ordinary day. Now, I don't have to tell any of the women in the audience that these two ladies they see before them, both of them, cooked 3 meals a day. One of them for 20 years and one of them for 40 years. And never had a vacation. Each of them washed, cleaned the house, and never had a nervous breakdown. It's like what that Middle Western poet said. You've got to love life to have life, and you've got to have life to love life. It's what they call a vicious circle. Here comes Howie Newsom delivering the milk. And here comes Cy Crowell delivering the paper like his brother before him. Howdy, Howie.
Morning, Cy. Anything in the papers I ought to know today?
Nothing much, except it was just about the best baseball pitcher Grover's Corners ever had. George Gibbs.
Reckon he is.
I don't seriously would give up a thing like that just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell, Cy. Never did have no talent that way. You're up early, Bill.
See if there's anything I can do to prevent the flood. Pretty much been rushing all night.
Cy Crowell here is all worked up about George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir, that's the way it goes. Well, back in '84, we had a player named Hank Todd. Went down to Maine Greenwood Parsons. Wonderful ball player. Howie, how does it look to you?
Oh, it ain't bad. I think maybe it'll clear up for good.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs.
Think it's gonna rain again?
Oh, the rain's so heavy, I think maybe it'll clear up.
Certainly hope it will.
What do you want today?
Well, Howie, I'm gonna have a house full of relations. Looks to me I'll need 3 of milk and 2 of cream.
My wife wants to tell you is how we both hope they'll be very happy, Mrs. Gibbs. No, they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Webb.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom. I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes, and the 2 cream.
Will it start raining again, Mr. Newsom?
Oh, I was just saying to Mrs. Gibbs is how it may lighten up. Mrs. Newsom told me to tell you is how we both hope they'll be very happy, Mrs. Webb. No, they will.
Thank you. And thank Mrs. Newsom.
Well, Mom, today has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Don't you say another word, Frank Diggs. I feel like crying every minute.
Groom's upstairs shaving. Only if there ain't a whole lot to shave. He's whistling and singing almost as if he's glad to do this. Every now and then he says, I do, into the mirror. You don't sound convincing to me.
I don't know how we'll get along. I've arranged his clothes for him and seen that he'll put warm things on. Oh, Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. He'll catch his death cold within a week.
I was remembering my wedding morning, Julia.
Oh, don't start with that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the most scared fella in all the state of New Hampshire. I was thinking I made a mistake for sure. And then I saw you coming downtown. You were the prettiest thing that I'd ever seen. The only trouble was I'd never seen you before. There I was, standing in the Congregational Church, marrying a complete stranger.
Well, how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are.
How'd you sleep, Julia?
I heard a lot of the hours struck off.
Yes, I get a shock every time I think of George becoming a family man. That great gangling thing. Most terrifying thing in the world, son. The relationship between a father and son is the darndest, most awkwardest.
But mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They'll have their troubles, I suppose. Everyone's got a right to their own troubles, but all we can do is just leave it be.
Yes, people are meant to go through life 2 by 2. It ain't naturally lonesome.
Did I ever tell you when I was most scared of marrying you?
You go along with you.
I was scared we wouldn't have enough material for conversation more than last us a couple weeks. We'd run out and eat our meals in silence. But it's been more than 20 years, and we haven't had any noticeable bad spells.
Well, good weather, bad weather. It ain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca Turner up there?
No, only day of the year I haven't heard Rebecca managing everyone's business. I reckon she's crying.
Lord sakes, Mrs. Scott, stop. Rebecca, you come downstairs now.
Good morning, everybody. Only 5 more hours to live.
George, guess where you think you're going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
George, it's raining times outside. You put on your overshoes. You don't go outside this house without being prepared for it.
Oh, Ma, it's just a step.
Frank, George, you'll catch your death cold and cough all throughout the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers, but while you're in my house, you'll live wisely, thank you.
Be back in a minute.
Oh, goodness, you frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute. You know I can't ask you in.
Why not?
George, you know well as I do, the groom can't see his bride on his wedding day, not till he sees her in the church.
Oh, that's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
You don't believe that superstition, do you?
Well, there's a lot of common sense in some superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, George, and you don't want to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How is Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. I haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
Well, no wonder. We were up till all hours sewing and packing. Now I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go upstairs and see if she doesn't come down and surprise you.
So, how are you, George?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on her wedding morning, a girl's head's apt to be full of clothes and one thing and another. Don't you suppose that's it?
Yes. A girl's up to be my nervous on her wedding day. I wish a fellow could get married without all that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, George, but it hasn't been any use. It's the women folk who've built up weddings, my boy. For a while now, the women have had it all their own. A man looks pretty small at a wedding, George. All those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure that the knot's tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh yes. Don't you misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing, wonderful thing. And don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
No, age hasn't got much to do with it, George. Not compared with, other things.
what were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know, was I going to say something? George, I was thinking the other night of some advice my father gave me when I got married. Charles, he said, Charles. Start out early showing who's boss. Best thing to do is give an order, even if it don't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. And he said, if anything about your wife irritates you, for conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house. That'll make it clear to her, he said. And, oh yes, he said never. Never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Oh, no, I don't think I could.
So I took the opposite of my father's advice, and I've been happy ever since. So let that be a lesson to you, George. Never ask advice on personal matters.
George, Emily has got to come downstairs and make her breakfast. She sends her love, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
So Myrtle, I seem to know about that older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the cavemen, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding, or near it. Now remember that.
Now, I have to interrupt again here. You see, we want to know how all this began, this plan to spend a lifetime together. Oh, you know how it is. You're 21 or 22, you make some decisions, then whoosh, you're 70, you've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that white-haired lady at your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? Now, George and Emily are going to show you the conversation they first had when they knew that, as the saying goes, that they were meant for one another. But before they do, I want you to try and remember what it was like to have been very young, and particularly the days when you were first in love, when you were like a person sleepwalking, just a little bit crazy. Will you remember that, please? Now, they'll be coming out of the high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president of the junior class, and it's June, which means he'll be president of the senior class all next year. And Emily has just been elected secretary and treasurer. I don't have to tell you how important that is.
Oh, I can't, Louise. I've got to get home. Bye. Oh, Ernestine, you come over tonight and do Latin. Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? Tell your mother that you have to. Bye. Oh, bye, Helen. Bye, Fred.
Can I carry books home for you, Emily?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
I'm awfully glad you would like it too, Emily.
Thanks.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, now that you mention it, I might as well say it right out. George, I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the past year. I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings, but I've got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot, and I used to watch you as you did everything, because we'd been friends for so long. And then you started to spend all your time at baseball, and you never stopped to speak to anybody anymore. Not even your own family you did it, and George, it's a fact. You've got awful conceited and stuck up, and all the girls say so. They may not say that to your face, but that's what they say about you behind your back. And it hurts me to hear them say it, but I gotta agree with them a little. Now, sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry that I said it.
No, I'm glad you said it. I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think that he should be.
Oh. I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is, and as far as I can see, your father is. So there's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I think it's the other way around. That men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, I'll tell you right now that I am not perfect. It's harder for a girl to be as perfect as a man is, because girls are more nervous. No, I'm sorry I said all that quickly. I don't know why I said it.
Emily.
Now I can see that it's not the truth at all, and that it's not important anyway.
Emily. Would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home? just gotten off the stair, Mrs. Morgan. She almost got ran over by that hardware store wagon. Everybody says that Tom Morgan drives like a crazy man.
Well, now, you look all shook up. I tell you gotta look both ways before you cross the street these days. It gets worse every year. What'll you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mrs. Morgan.
No. Have an ice cream soda with me. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mrs. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Here they are, sir. Enjoy them.
Oh, they're so expensive.
Oh, no. Don't you think of that. We're celebrating our election. And then, do you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who tells me all the things that ought to be told me.
Oh, George, don't think of that. I don't know why you said it. It's not true.
No, you stick to it. I'm glad you said it. But you'll see, I'm going to change so quick. You bet I'm going to change. And I want to ask you a favor.
What?
If I do go away to state agricultural college next year, will you write me a letter every once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems like being away for 3 years, you get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of all of New Hampshire, but I think that it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come where I wouldn't want to know everything that's happening here. I know that's true, Emily.
I'll try and make my letters interesting.
You know, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if it's important to go to agricultural college to be a good farmer.
Wait, George?
Yeah, and some even say it's a waste of time. Well, I can get all those things anyways out of the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start taking over tomorrow if I could.
My.
Yeah, being gone all that time, meeting other people in other places. Gosh, if anything like that can happen, I don't want to go away. I guess new people aren't any better than the old ones. I'll bet they almost never are. And Emily, I feel as you're as good as a friend as I've got. I don't need to go meet people in other places.
George, maybe it's very important for you to go and learn all that about cattle judging and soils and those things. Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
George, I'm not saying you have to make up your mind right now. It's a whole year away.
I'm glad you spoke to me about that. That fault to my character. What he said was right. There was one thing wrong in it. And that was when you said that for a year I was noticing people. And you, for instance, you said you were watching me as I did everything. Well, I was doing the same about you all the time. Why, sure, I always thought about you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure where you were sitting on the bleachers and who you were with. And for 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you. But something's always gotten in the way. And yesterday, I was standing over against the wall waiting for you, and you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
George, life's awful funny. How could I have known that? I thought
Listen, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to see at agricultural college. I feel that once you find a person you're very fond of, I mean, a person that's very fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college is, and even more so. That's what I think.
I think it's awfully important too.
Emily,
Yes, George?
if I do improve and make a big change, would you be, could you be?
I am now. I always have been.
So I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
We're just gonna walk home. I'm gonna have to go home and get you the money to pay for this. It'll only take me a minute.
What's that? George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me that?
Yes, but I have reasons, Mrs. Morgan. Look, here's my gold watch to keep until I come back with the money.
Keep your watch, George. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George. Not a day over. Are you all over your shop, Emily?
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. It was nothing.
I'm ready.
Well, now we're ready to get on with the wedding. There are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. There are a lot of plots that go on during a wedding. But you can't fit them all into one wedding, especially not a wedding at Grover's Corners, where they're awfully plain and short. In this wedding, I'll be playing the role of the minister.
I don't know why on earth I should be crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. It all came over me at breakfast this morning. There was Emily eating her breakfast as she's done for 17 years, and now she's going to
listen to me.
No, George. You're a man now.
Listen to me, Mom. For the last time I asked you, all I want to do is be a fellow.
Why, George, if anyone should hear you. Now stop it. I'm ashamed of you.
Where's Emily?
George, you gave me such a turn.
Sure, Mom. I'm getting married.
Never felt so alone in my whole life. And George over there, looking so... I hate him! I wish I were dead! Papa! Papa!
Emily, now don't get upset.
But Papa, I don't want to get married.
Emily, everything's all right.
Why can't I stay for a while just as I am? Let's go away.
Now, Emily, stop and think a minute.
Papa, don't you remember what you used to say to me? All the time you used to say this. All the time. That I was your girl. There must be lots of places that we can go.
Emily, you mustn't think of such things. You're just nervous. George! You're marrying the best young fellow in the world. George is a fine fellow. I'm giving away my daughter, George. Do you think you can take care of her?
I want to. I want to try. And I'm going to do my best. I love you, and I need you.
If you love me, then help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. I'll try.
And I mean forever. Do you hear me? Forever and ever.
Waiting for us. Abby knows who we are.
Do you, George, take this woman, Emily, to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to rule?
I do.
And do you, Emily, take this man, George, to be your lawfully wedded husband? Everybody's heard about them. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, oftentimes lots of sun and moon and stars. There, quite a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Yes, Beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilac. Over there are the old stones. 1670, 1680. Strong-minded people who came looking here for independence. There are some Civil War veterans, New Hampshire boys. This here is the new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs, and Mr. Simpson, and Mrs. Soames, oh, and many others, and Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst on a camping trip to Crawford Notch. Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out very often to look at them. Yes, we all know that something is eternal. Everybody knows in their bones that something is eternal. And that something has to do with human beings. There's something way down deep that's eternal in every human being. Well, there are some living people. Here comes Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, supervising a new-made grave. And here comes the Grover's Corners boy, who left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard. Good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you? I'm Sam Craig. Gracious sakes alive, of all people. I should have known you'd be back for the funeral. Been away a long time, Sam. Yes, I have business on Buffalo now, John. Very sad our journey today, Samuel. Yes. Yes. I always say I hate to see you guys when the young person's taken. That's my Aunt Julia. I forgot that she... Yes. Doc Gibb lost his wife, too, 3 years ago, about this time. And today's another pretty bad blow for him, too. That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam. Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Simon. Who'd she die of? Who? My cousin. Oh, did you know? Had some trouble bringing a baby into the world. Mother second though, there's a little boy about 4 years old. The grave's gonna be over there? Yes.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Well, I declare, her road here must have been awful money. When did she die, Julia?
In childbirth.
Childbirth, I'd forgotten all about that. Why, wasn't it awful and wonderful?
Wonderful, was it?
Simon. Now remember.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Mother Gibbs.
Emily?
It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone soon, dear. Just rest yourself.
It seems thousands and thousands of years since Papa remembered that was my favorite hymn. Well, I wish I'd been here a long time. Don't like being new here. How do you do, Mr. Simpson?
How do you do, Emily?
The kids, George and I have made that farm into the best place you ever saw. We thought about you all the time. We wanted to show you a new barn and a great long cement drinking fountain we had for the stock. We bought that out of the money that you left us.
I did?
Yes. Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs, the legacy you left us? Why, it was over $350.
Yes, Emily.
Well, it's a patent place on the drinking fountain so that it never overflows, Mother Gibbs. Never sinks below a certain mark they have there, too. Oh, it's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. It's a lovely farm. Live people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? I feel as though I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boy is spending the day with Miss Carter.
Gibbs, when does this feeling go away of being one of them? How long does it last?
Hush, dear. Just rest yourself.
Finished. They're gone. Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to your grave. Oh, he looks just like George, doesn't he? I never realized before how troubled in the dark clad persons are. Oh, look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are. Troubled.
A little cooler in here than it was before. Yes. That rain's cooled it off a bit.
The northeast winds always do blow the same way, don't they?
If it isn't rain, it's 3-day blow.
But Mother Gibbs, why can't he go back? Why can't he go back there again into living? I feel it. I know it. Why? For a moment, I was thinking about the farm, and for a minute, I was there.
Yes, of course you can.
I can go back and live all of those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Yes, some have tried, but they soon come back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, don't. It's not what you think it'd be. But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew I loved George. Why should that be painful?
You not only live it, but you watch yourself living it.
Yes.
And you know the thing that they, down there, never know. You know the future. You know what's going to happen afterwards.
Is that painful? Why?
That's not the only reason you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll see that our life here is to forget all that and look forward to what's ahead and be ready for what's ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how could I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had. Oh, Emily, it's so wise. Really, it isn't. But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day in your life. It'll be important enough.
Well, it can't be since I was married or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday at least, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right. February 11th, 1899. A Tuesday. Would you like any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn.
Look. There's Main Street. That's Mrs. Morgan's drugstore before she changed it. There's the livery stable.
Yes, this is 1899. This is 14 years ago.
Oh, this is the town I knew as a little girl. And look, there's the old white fence that used to be around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten it. Oh, I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes, your mother will be down in a minute to make breakfast.
Will she?
And your father came home on the early morning train?
No.
Yes, he'd been away to give a speech at his old college in New York, at Clinton.
Look, there's Howie Newsom. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Whoa, Bessie. Morning, Bill. Morning, Howie. You're up early. Been rushing in a party. Don't even posted that down by Polish Town.
Hey, look, there's Joe Crowell.
Good morning, Mr. Warren. Good morning, Howie.
Children, Wally, Emily, time to get up.
Oh, Mama! Mom, I'm here! Oh, how young Mama looks. I didn't know that Mama was ever that young.
You can come and dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry. Good morning, Mr. Newsom. Oh, it's cold.
It's 10 below by my bar, Mrs. Webb.
Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear. I laid it out for you special. On the dresser there. If it were a snake, it would bite you.
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early.
Yes, I've just been back up to my old college in New York State.
Been any trouble here? Well, I was called this morning to rescue a Polish fellow. Darn near frozen to death he was.
We must get it in the paper.
Papa.
Good morning, Mother.
How'd it go, Charles?
Fine, I guess. Told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Yes. Can't think of anything that happened special. Been right cold.
Yes, well, it's colder than that at Hamilton College. Students' ears have fallen off. Paper have any mistakes in it?
None that I noticed. Charles, don't forget it's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something?
Yes, I've got something here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. You'll see her at breakfast. She's slow enough as it is. Children, hurry up now. I don't want to call you again.
Can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why did they ever have to get old? Oh, Mama. Mama, I'm here. I'm all grown up, Mama. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear, a very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There's some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. I can't. I can't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat that breakfast good and slow. It'll keep you warm on a cold day. That and the blue paper is from your Aunt Carrie. And I reckon you can guess who brought over the postcard album. I found it on the doorstep when I went to bring in the milk. George Gibbs must have come over in the cold pretty early.
George. I'd forgotten that.
Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll keep you warm.
Oh, Mama. Just look at me once. As though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. Her grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead too. His appendix burst on a camping trip to North Conway. We felt just terrible about it, don't you remember? Just for a moment now, we're all together. Just for a moment now, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
And that and the yellow paper is something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear it now, and I thought you'd like it.
And this is from you? Why, Mama, it's lovely. It's just what I wanted. It's beautiful.
Well, I hoped you'd like it. Searched all over. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I had to send all the way to Boston. Wally has something for you, too. He made it in his manual training class, and he's very proud of it, so be sure to make a big fuss. Your father has a surprise for you, too. Don't know what it is myself. Oh, here it comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't. I can't go on. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on, and we never noticed. Take me back with Bill to my grave. First, wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. And Mama. And Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking. And Mama's sunflowers. And moon. And coffee. And new iron dresses, and hot hats, and sleeping, and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?
No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do some.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are! Just blind
to go up and down, trampling on the feelings of those around you, to spend and waste time as though you had a million years, to be always at the mercy of one self-centered passion or another. Now you know. That's the happy existence you wanted to go back to. Ignorance and blindness.
Simon Stinson, that ain't the whole truth, and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
Mother Gibbs. It's George.
Hush, dear, just rest yourself.
It's George.
That ain't no way to behave.
He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs.
Yes, Emily.
They don't understand. Do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Most everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. Shorty Hawkins, down at the depot, just watched the Albany train go by. Down at the livery stable, a few people are setting up late and talking. Yes, it's clear enough. The stars are doing their